9 experienced hikers entered a mountain range in the Soviet Union. They were strong. They were trained. They had done this before. None of them made it out alive. And to this day, no one can explain why.
January 1959. A group of 10 hikers, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, sets out from Sverdlovsk, what is now Yekaterinburg, Russia. Their goal? Reach Otorten Mountain, deep in the Ural Range. A Grade 3 expedition, the highest difficulty rating that existed. These were not beginners. These were athletes. Students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Experienced, prepared, fearless. One hiker turns back early due to illness. That decision saves his life. The remaining 9 push on. On January 28th, they make camp on the slope of a mountain called Holat Siachel. In the local Munsi language, that name translates to something unsettling. Dead Mountain. They set up their tent. They made dinner. They wrote in their diaries. Cheerful entries. Joking with each other. Teasing each other about who snored. Nothing suggested what was about to happen. They were never seen alive again. When they failed to return on schedule, search parties were sent in. On February 26th, rescuers found the tent. And what they found made no sense. The tent had been cut open from the inside, not torn by wind, not ripped by an animal. Cut, deliberately, by someone desperate to get out fast. Their belongings were still inside. Boots, coats, food, everything they needed to survive a Russian winter night at negative 30 degrees Celsius. They had left, barefoot or in socks, into one of the most lethal environments on Earth. Rescuers followed their tracks through the snow. The footprints showed no sign of panic. They walked in a relatively orderly line. But then, the tracks just stopped. The bodies were found scattered across a half-mile radius. 2 near the tree line, 3 near the tent, 4 buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine nearby. And here is where it gets disturbing.
Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonishenko found frozen under a cedar tree. Their hands were burned, as if they had been desperately clawing at a fire that wouldn't stay lit. Igor Dyatlov found curled against a birch tree, facing back toward the tent, one arm raised, like he was trying to crawl home. Zina Kolmogorova, also trying to crawl back. She never made it. Rustam Slobodin, a small fracture in his skull. Investigators weren't sure how it happened. But the 4 found in the ravine? That's where this case stops being explainable. Ludmila Dubinina was found missing her tongue. Her eyes were gone. Her internal chest injuries were catastrophic. Broken ribs, crushed sternum. The kind of damage you see in high-speed car crashes. But there was no external bruising, no signs of impact on her skin. Semyon Zolotaryov, same story. Crushed chest, eyes missing. Alexander Kolovatov's neck was broken. And yet, no external wounds on any of them. No signs of a struggle. No foreign DNA. No evidence of another person anywhere near that mountain. Investigators scrambled, The Soviet government scrambled, and over the next 6 decades, the world scrambled too. Here's every theory, and here's why none of them fully hold up. Theory 1. An avalanche. Clean. Logical. The mountain did it. Except the slope angle was only 18 to 23 degrees. Avalanches typically require 30 degrees or more. There was no avalanche debris found at the scene, and experienced mountaineers would have camped safely, which they did. Their tent placement made no avalanche sense as a trigger. The bodies were also not found in an avalanche scatter pattern. Theory 2. A paradoxical undressing. When people freeze to death, they sometimes rip their clothes off, a known documented phenomenon where the brain misfires and tells the body it's burning hot. This might explain some of the missing clothing, but it doesn't touch the missing tongue, the crushed chests, the missing eyes. Theory 3. The Mansi people, local indigenous tribesmen. The Mansi considered Kolatsiak sacred. Maybe they attacked the hikers for trespassing? But investigators found no evidence of other humans on the mountain. No tracks, no witnesses. The Mansi themselves were questioned and fully cleared. Theory 4. Military testing. Classified Soviet weapons. Infrasound experiments. Parachute mines. Orange sphews were actually reported in the sky by other hikers in the region that same night. Some of the hikers' clothing tested positive for unusual levels of radiation. Investigators tried to bury this detail. Why? We still don't know. Theory 5. A UFO or paranormal event. Before you roll your eyes, this was actually recorded in the official Soviet investigation file. Multiple witnesses reported glowing orbs over the Urals during that period. The Soviets, not exactly a government prone to admitting they didn't have answers, closed the case and classified it, citing a compelling unknown natural force. They didn't even give it a name. Just unknown.
In 2019, 60 years after those 9 people died on Dead Mountain, Russian prosecutors officially reopened the investigation. Their conclusion? An avalanche. They insisted that a rare slab avalanche, a specific delayed type, could explain the injuries. The victims, they said, panicked in the dark, fled the tent, and succumbed to the cold. The world's response was immediate and overwhelming. Nobody bought it. Independent researchers pointed out that the snow evidence still didn't support an avalanche. The injury patterns remained unexplained, particularly the internal crushing damage with no external trauma. Forensic pathologist Dr. Boris Vozrozhdeny, who conducted the original autopsies, had said those injuries could not have been caused by a human being, that the force required was more like a car crash or an explosion. The missing tongue, the missing eyes, the radiation. The Russian government closed the case again. And the families of the 9 hikers, some of whom are still alive, said publicly that they did not accept the verdict. Neither do thousands of researchers, forensic analysts, and investigators who have spent their careers on this case.
Here's what we know for certain. 9 people walked up a mountain. They cut their way out of their tent in the middle of the night. They ran, barefoot, into a 30-below blizzard. And whatever they were running from, they never stopped running. They died in the dark on a mountain called Dead Mountain. And the one thing that is absolutely clear after 67 years of investigation is this: we do not know what happened to them. Maybe we never will. The investigators who first arrived at that scene described feeling something they couldn't articulate. A wrongness in the air, like the mountain itself was warning them to leave. One investigator reportedly refused to ever return.
I'll leave you with one final detail. In Lyudmila Dubinina's diary, recovered from inside the tent, her last entry was dated February 1st, the night before they died. She wrote about how beautiful the mountains were. She wrote that she felt completely safe. Sleep well.